Why does every company have that NCO who peaked at their first deployment? Staff Sergeant Vincent Pryor. That was his name, but everyone just called him Fallujah behind his back, because that's all he ever talked about. Second deployment to Iraq, 2005. Fierce urban combat, lots of action. Vincent was there as a private, saw real fighting, came home with a combat infantryman badge and stories for days. Problem was that deployment ended 12 years ago. Vincent was now 34 years old, still telling the same stories like they happened yesterday. Every single day. Morning formation, Vincent would somehow work Fallujah into the conversation. Back in Fallujah, we didn't complain about cold weather. We dealt with 120-degree heat in full gear. Staff meeting about supply requests. In Fallujah, we made do with whatever we had. Kids these days need everything handed to them. Someone mentions being tired. Tired? Let me tell you about tired. Fallujah, 3 days straight, no sleep, constant contact with the enemy. My buddy Lane pulled me aside one day. I swear, if Vincent mentions Fallujah one more time, I'm going to lose it. We get it. You were in combat. So were half the guys in this company. The younger soldiers couldn't stand him. Private Dalton once asked a legitimate question about urban tactics during a training brief. Vincent launched into a 30-minute Fallujah story that had nothing to do with the question. What made it worse was Vincent's second deployment. Afghanistan 2009. Quiet posting at a large base. Barely left the wire. Then his third deployment, logistics work in Kuwait. Never saw combat again after that first tour. But you'd think Fallujah was the only deployment that ever mattered in military history. The breaking point came during pre-deployment training. We were heading to Iraq again. Different region. Completely different tactical situation than 2005. Our lieutenant, fresh from Ranger School, was briefing us on current enemy tactics. IEDs, vehicle-borne attacks, insider threats. The modern fight. Vincent raised his hand. Sir, with all due respect, in Fallujah we dealt with direct combat. Real fighting. Not hiding behind radios calling in airstrikes. The room went dead quiet. The lieutenant stared at him. Sergeant Pryor, the tactics I'm describing have killed more American soldiers in the past 5 years than anything you faced in Fallujah. This isn't 2005 anymore. Vincent actually argued with him in front of the whole company. Said modern soldiers were soft, that we'd never understand real combat like he did. That night, our platoon sergeant, a guy named Curtis Holloway, called Vincent into his office. Curtis had 3 deployments himself, including Helmand Province, where things got ugly. We couldn't hear the whole conversation, but Curtis's voice carried through the door. You think you're the only one who's seen combat? You think your 12-year-old war stories make you special? Vincent came out looking shaken. Didn't say much the rest of the week. Deployment came. We rolled into Iraq expecting Vincent to finally relive his glory days, prove he was still that combat veteran from 2005. Instead, he froze up. First patrol outside the wire, we took small arms fire. Nothing major, quick engagement, over in minutes. Vincent just stood there behind cover, not returning fire, not giving orders to his squad, just frozen. Lane had to take over. Got everyone positioned, called it in, handled the situation exactly like training taught us. Vincent didn't do anything. After we got back, Curtis pulled Vincent aside again. This time I heard some of it. You've been telling war stories for 12 years. Now you're in an actual war zone and you lock up. What happened to that fearless Fallujah veteran? Vincent's voice was quiet. That was different. I was 19, didn't know enough to be scared. Now I've got a wife and kids. I know what I could lose. Curtis was silent for a moment. Then he said something that stuck with me. That's called growing up. Everyone else figured out how to do the job anyway. You need to decide if you're here to fight or here to tell stories. Next patrol, Vincent did better. Not great, but functional. He stopped talking about Fallujah completely. Halfway through deployment, we got hit by a complex ambush. Multiple firing positions, RPGs, the works. Worst contact we'd had. Vincent actually stepped up, used his experience, kept his squad moving, got everyone to cover safely, didn't panic, didn't freeze, did his job like the professional he was supposed to be. After that firefight, Dalton approached him. That was solid leadership, Sergeant. Thanks for keeping us alive. Vincent nodded. Looked tired. Yeah, thanks. That was it. No long story. No comparison to Fallujah. Just acknowledgement and moving on. Rest of deployment, Vincent was a different person. Still shared stories when relevant, but they were teaching moments now, not ego trips about his glory days. We came home 6 months later. At the welcome ceremony, Vincent's wife ran up to him with her 2 kids. He picked them up, held them close, and I saw tears running down his face. Lane stood next to me watching. Think he finally got over Fallujah? Nah, I said. He just realized he's got something more important to live for than old war stories. Last I heard, Vincent made Sergeant First Class, runs the training program for new soldiers heading to their first deployment, teaches them real tactics, modern threats, and most importantly, how to come home alive and sane. Uses his Fallujah stories only when they're actually relevant. The younger soldiers respect him now, not because of where he's been, but because of what he teaches them about where they're going. Funny thing is, he finally earned a new nickname. Instead of Fallujah, they call him Sergeant V. Simple, professional, not stuck in the past.